Well, hello everybody. It is the wrap up video for last night's GOP debate, and get ready for some let's discuss or kind of me pontificating a little bit. I have to give you my personal opinion on this thing last night. Um, Generally speaking, thought it was pretty damn embarrassing, to be honest with you. Um, you know, as I mentioned the last couple of days, our country has a lot of issues, got a lot of problems. And I do agree. I agreed with several things that were said by some of the candidates last night. Vivek saying that we're at a precipice and our country is going to go in one of two directions. It's either going to go back to being the type of country that we are proud of and wanting to be a part of and contributing to, where freedom reigns and people have unbelievable opportunities, just like Tim Scott talked about the great opportunities that he has had, his family has had, and that he has taken advantage of to improve his world, improve his family's life. That's the country I grew up in. That's the country that I want to be a part of. And, most of the debate last night was a bunch of childish crap, quite frankly. I mean, very seldom, occasionally, you had some people get out of their own way with their prepared statements and little press snippets and comeback lines that they had prepared well in advance, and actually talk about the issues, actually talk about what they believed, and you know the the things that they would want to implement to move forward. um, the rest of the time you had the same old tired, this is what I did when I was, and blah, blah, blah. And I got to be honest with you, that doesn't hold a lot of water with me personally. You know, Pence telling us all this great stuff that he did when he was vice president and so forth. Well, if he did a really good job, then why are we in the cluster that we are in right now? And yes, I personally put a ton of this um, on the um, Biden administration. But guess what? Pence was, unless I'm mistaken, he was right there and presided over this stimulus package that was signed while Trump was still president. That doled out a bunch of cash to people and still is. And in case you guys didn't take economics at any point in your life, inflation is caused by too much money chasing too few goods. And when the government is pumping the system with a bunch of money, you get inflation. When the cost of goods goes up, you get inflation. Now, the increase in the cost, I can squarely put on Biden. Shutting off oil production and driving up our fuel cost. That's purely a Biden decision. But the pumping a bunch of cash into the economy without any fail safes or sunshine on some of this, um, you know, that pumping money into the economy, and they did it at the end of the Trump administration. They have done it ever since Biden got into office. And that's why it cost me 50% more to go to the grocery store and buy food. It's why it costs me 50% more to fill the tank on my vehicles. It's why it costs me so much more for the same standard of living that we had prior to 3 years ago. And so you can blame COVID all you want to, but COVID is gone. Pumping money into the economy, printing cash, that is still our government, and they're still doing it. You know, Pence had a little one liner which drew a bunch of laughter about when they asked the question about there being a test for the president for competency prior to taking office. And Pence made the little comment, which was funny and true. You know, all of Washington should have to have that same test about competency. But just like Vivek says that high school graduates should be able to pass the same civics exam that we give to those that want to become citizens of the U.S. And I think everybody that authorizes or has the ability, whether they're an elected official or in the bureaucracy, to affect the economics of our economy, they should have to pass a basic um, economics class, because there is no way you can tell me that half of these people know what the hell they're doing when they're authorizing money just spewing out of the government, thinking that that's going to help the people that are most in need. Because the people that are most in need, they don't need their food to go up 50%. They don't need their cost of living to go up 50% and their rent to go up 50% and their ability to buy a home to go away because of interest rates. All of that, all of that could be solved by a basic economics test. And if you can't pass economics, you shouldn't be writing checks for the US government. You shouldn't be spending my money. Okay, soapbox is done on that. The rest of this, quite frankly, last night, you know, if I were to look at how the candidates did, I mean, Nikki Haley, I think, did a very good job. And I like the fact that Nikki Haley spoke the truth when, yeah, she pointed at Obama and Biden for causing some of the issues that we have in the country, but she also pointed the finger back at herself and the Republicans. Because again, they write checks too. Their policies affect us too. If they did such a fantastic bang up job when they were in power, we wouldn't be here. It, I mean, it would have taken a whole lot more effort by Biden to ruin a great economy. We had a great economy, but there were weaknesses that they were easily able to exploit and ruin the economy. Okay? So Republicans share in it. They got to get on the bandwagon about making things better for us too. Last night, when everybody's throwing barbs at people and making stupid comments and little quips, you know what? That doesn't give me any feeling of security that they can actually make my life better or your life better or my kids' life better. Um, you know, there were some shining lights. Like I said, Nikki Haley, I think she did a good job. I think Tim Scott did a really good job. Tim, he didn't get caught up in in all of this badgering that went on. I mean, he certainly didn't act like Pence. Pence looked just like a grumpy old man that wanted to prove that he was a man, and wanted to. Pence did not impress me at all. That was a failure. Um, you know, Ron DeSantis was there. He was in center stage. Um, he was using campaign lines throughout the whole thing. There are some things to listen to on DeSantis, and you know, served our country. Got to have respect for that, but that didn't move the needle for me at all. Vivek, I, man, on domestic stuff, I absolutely loved everything that he had to say. He was right on the money about our society and the fact that we've got to get back to basic values, principles, um, because that's what's going to improve your life and mine. Um, However, giving up the Ukraine, giving up Taiwan, stopping our support of Israel, that's not on my hit parade. I do absolutely believe that we need to be spending our money here. We need to protect our borders. We can do that by not hiring 87,000 IRS agents and putting some people on the border and, well, shockingly, actually enforcing the laws that are already here. I've mentioned this before, but our immigration laws are totally screwed up. There is a reason why we have the issues that we have, and it actually starts in Washington. It starts in Washington because it doesn't matter who's in control of Congress. None of them will address our immigration laws to update them, make them equitable and fair, and create laws that we're actually going to enforce. Republicans don't do it when they're in charge. Democrats don't do it when they're in charge, but both of them use them on the campaign trail trying to get your money and get your vote. Oh, we've got to fix immigration. We got to fix immigration. Then do it. Then do it already. Either party could do it. I am sure there is a consensus, but they won't fix it because they need the donation money. Never forget, and I hate saying this, but in today's world, in this huge bureaucracy that we've allowed to be created in Washington, all of this is about power, money, and control. It's just that we as voting citizens hope, pray, maybe that somebody comes into office that actually gives a damn about us and not getting reelected. We'll do a video really soon on term limits. I'm not against term limits, but there's one thing that has to happen first, and that is those people in power that were elected by the people and are only there because of the people need to have the power and the ability to fire the bureaucrats, because right now the bureaucrats run the country, and until we can get rid of them, term limits don't matter. They're irrelevant. Okay, that's for another day. Let me finish up on our list. Um, I got to tell you, the pundits today also did not impress me very much about their commentary, especially those that are not prone to vote for any of these people. I saw uh, the Twitter or whatever they call it now from Michelle Obama that gave the Congeniality Award to the North Dakota governor, to Doug Burgum. You know what? That's pretty insulting because Doug did not jump into the fray and play all of these stupid elementary playground games with calling names and attacking people, because he talked about principles, because he talked about the things that were important and the way that he would actually run this country and what would be on his political agenda to get done, who our real enemies are, and the things that should actually be important to us, instead of whether there are UFOs or not. Okay, you know what? I don't care if there are UFOs or not. I do give a damn that we're giving a bunch of money to China, and and they do not have our best interest at heart. Neither do the Russians. You know, another topic for another day to discuss. But you know what? Doug did a good job last night. And he's the kind of principled person that I like seeing up on stage. If all 8 of them acted with the same decorum that Doug did, that Tim Scott did, I would not have been embarrassed last night about the debates. I certainly hope that the next debates are a lot better. There was one divisive question asked last night that I throw out to you all because I'd love to hear your comments on it. So they asked the question because everybody that was on stage signed a document stating that they would support whomever got the GOP candidacy. And the question was posed: if Trump was found guilty in the court of law for any of these trumped up charges, no pun intended, that have been brought against him, would you still support him for president? And you had about half of them that raised their hand immediately. You had a couple that begrudgingly raised their hands. Asa did not. Asa is a never Trumper, uh, just like Chris Christie is a never Trumper. But Christie eventually raised his hand. Then he said he didn't really raise his hand, but then he said he did raise his hand. You know, who needs that crap? Um, I throw out the question to you: if there actually is any real wrongdoing by Trump, and at this point, I mean, our DOJ and our FBI is so corrupt and political, it's really hard to hear these charges and give them credibility when the same people that are laughing about them did the same stuff just 6 years ago. And they, I think Hillary paid a small fine, or the DNC paid a small fine for destroying evidence. Uh, anyway, question is, would you support Trump? That's a really, really good question. He still leads in the polls. He has an amazing following. He's not beholden to anybody. All those things make him a very attractive candidate to somebody like me. Like I said, I agreed with 90% of his agenda when he was president. Did not agree with his demeanor. And him being on stage last night probably would have meant that we would have heard even less actual substantive information from the candidates last night, because they all would have been like rabid dogs in a in a meat grinder. They just would have been going crazy. Um, and they still took plenty of jabs at Trump. I think Trump should have been there. I really do. I get why he wasn't there. But you know what? If you're running for president, you got to be in the debates, period. I still believe that. Would you vote for Trump? If he was legitimately found guilty, would you vote for him? I would love to get your feedback on it. And I will tell you right now, it's a hard question for me to answer. I believe in the rule of law. I believe in the rule of law for everyone. Even if the Bidens and the Clintons are exempt from the rule of law, as well as their henchmen, um, I believe in the rule of law. And so, whether I think these charges are erroneous or not, if there's validity to any of them, and he's found guilty, boy, it's really hard for me to vote for somebody for the President of the United States who was legitimately found guilty. Flip side is there anything that they've said that he is guilty of, even if he was guilty of those things, that his predecessors and the current administration hasn't done worse? And the corruption is just sickening in Washington. It's sickening. So we really are at a precipice. Vivek is correct. Are we going to follow the rule of law, or are we just going to do what we feel is expedient, um, in hopes that we'll get a result that we all want, which is prosperity, happiness, fulfillment for our families, standard of living that should be the envy of the world? I'd love to hear your feedback on it. We need to discuss it. That'll be tomorrow's video. Let's discuss your feedback. Would you vote for him? Would you vote for him? And I know many of you listening to me are avid Trump fans. I get that. But I really want you to think, would you vote for him? Even if you are not an avid Trump fan, would you vote for him? If he gets drugged through the mud on false charges, he comes out clean, would you vote for him? Give me your feedback. Let's discuss. I hope you all have a fabulous evening, and God bless.